Have you ever sat in a crowded room, surrounded by laughter, conversation, and music, yet felt completely invisible? Like you're watching life happen through a pane of glass that no one else can see? That hollow ache in your chest isn't rare. In fact, it's far more common than most of us admit. Today we're going to talk about a specific kind of loneliness, the secret kind. The loneliness that doesn't announce itself with tears or dramatic withdrawals. The loneliness that hides behind smiles, productivity, witty jokes, and perfectly curated social media feeds. Secretly lonely people are often the last ones you'd suspect. They're the friend who always shows up, the colleague who never says no to after-work drinks, the partner who seems attentive and affectionate. On the outside, their life looks full. On the inside, many of them feel profoundly unseen. This isn't the obvious, crying-on-the-couch loneliness we usually imagine. This is the silent, chronic, I'm fine loneliness that can last for years without anyone noticing, sometimes not even the person experiencing it. So how does someone become secretly lonely? And more importantly, why do they stay that way? Let's start by understanding the psychology behind it. One of the most common pathways into secret loneliness is something psychologists call discrepancy loneliness. This happens when there's a large gap between the connections you have and the connections you actually crave. You might have 800 friends on social media, a busy family calendar, and a relationship, but if none of those interactions feel deeply meaningful, the loneliness creeps in anyway. The scary part? The brain doesn't care about quantity. It cares about quality and depth. Studies from the evolutionary psychology field show that humans are wired to need a small handful, around 3 to 5, of truly close, dependable relationships where we feel fully known and safe. When those are missing, no amount of surface-level interaction can fill the void. But here's where it gets sneaky. Secretly lonely people are often masters at masking that void. They develop what researchers call compensatory behaviors. They become the helper, the planner, listener, entertainer, anything that keeps them needed. Because if people need you, they won't leave you, right? This is rooted in attachment theory. Many secretly lonely individuals have an anxious or fearful avoidant attachment style developed in childhood. They learned early that love and closeness come with a risk of abandonment, rejection, or engulfment. So they build a strategy. Stay useful, stay funny, stay emotionally regulated, and no one will see the parts of you that feel unlovable. Let's paint a picture of what this looks like in real life. Imagine Sarah. 34 years old, successful marketing manager, always the one organizing birthday dinners, remembering everyone's anniversaries, sending thoughtful gifts. At parties, she's in the center of the room, making people laugh with self-deprecating stories. Everyone says, "I don't know what we'd do without Sarah." But when she gets home, she sits on the couch, scrolls through her phone, and feels a wave of emptiness she can't name. She has a boyfriend who loves her, friends who text daily, yet she often thinks, if I disappeared tomorrow, would anyone notice the real me was gone, or just the version I perform? Sarah is textbook secretly lonely. Another profile is Alex, the guy who never says no to plans. Last-minute concert. He's there. Someone needs a ride to the airport at 5 a.m. He volunteers. He's the definition of reliable. But ask him how he's really doing, and he'll deflect with a joke or change the subject. Alex fears that if people saw his vulnerability, his insecurities, his neediness, his occasional despair, they'd pull away. So he keeps the mask on, even when it's exhausting. These compensatory strategies work, for a while. They create the illusion of connection. But over time, they backfire. The more you perform, the harder it becomes to drop the act. You start to believe that the real you isn't worth loving. That's when something called imposter syndrome of the self sets in. You feel like a fraud in your own life. You're surrounded by people who adore a version of you that feels increasingly foreign. There's also a cognitive distortion at play here that psychologists call emotional forecasting error. Secretly lonely people overestimate how uncomfortable vulnerability will be and underestimate how rewarding it could be. They imagine that if they opened up and said, "I feel alone even when I'm with people," their friends would judge them, pity them, or slowly back away. In reality, authentic vulnerability often deepens relationships. But the fear is so strong that it keeps the secret locked in place. Now let's talk about the body. Chronic secret loneliness isn't just emotional, it's physical. Research from Brigham Young University found that prolonged loneliness has the same impact on mortality as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It raises cortisol levels, disrupts sleep, weakens the immune system, and increases inflammation. Many secretly lonely people live with unexplained fatigue, tension headaches, digestive issues, or a constant low-grade anxiety they can't quite trace. Their body is screaming that something is wrong, but because they have people, they dismiss it as stress or aging. One of the most painful ironies is that secretly lonely people often feel most alone right after social interactions. Psychologists call this the post-social crash. You spend 3 hours at a dinner party being charming and engaged, and the second you're alone in the car, the emptiness hits like a tidal wave.
Why?
Because you just spent hours performing intimacy without actually experiencing it. It's like eating cardboard shaped like a steak. It looks right, but it doesn't nourish. So what keeps people trapped in this cycle? There are several psychological mechanisms. Shame. Loneliness carries a deep cultural stigma. We're taught that being lonely means you're unlikable or broken. So admitting it, even to yourself, feels shameful. The sunk cost fallacy of the persona. You've invested years into being the strong one, the funny one, the one who has it together. Dropping that identity feels like losing everything, even if that identity is slowly killing you. Fear of burdening others. Many secretly lonely people grew up in environments where emotions were minimized or punished. They internalized the belief, my feelings are too much. Habituation. Emotional suppression becomes second nature. You literally forget how to access your real feelings. But here's the truth that secretly lonely people desperately need to hear. Your loneliness is not evidence that you are unlovable. It is evidence that you are human and that your needs are not being met. Period. So how do people begin to heal from secret loneliness? The first step is brutal and simple. You have to name it. Not in a vague, I feel off way, but specifically, I am lonely. I feel unknown. I long for depth. Naming it reduces shame immediately because it moves the feeling from, something is wrong with me, to, something is missing in my life that I can work to change. The second step is risk. You have to start practicing selective vulnerability with safe people. Not everyone deserves your real self. That's okay. But someone does. Start small. Instead of saying, I'm fine, when a close friend asks how you are, try, actually, I've been feeling kind of disconnected lately. Can I talk about it? Most of the time, the response is relief from the other person. I'm so glad you said that. I've been feeling it too. Third, you have to grieve the relationships you wish you had. Many secretly lonely people are stuck because they're still hoping their current circle will magically become deeper. Letting go of that fantasy is painful, but it creates space for new, more authentic connections. Fourth, rebuild your relationship with yourself. Secret loneliness often stems from self-abandonment. You've spent so long performing that you don't know who you are underneath. Journaling, therapy, silent retreats, creative expression, anything that lets you hear your own voice again, is medicine. Fifth, learn to tolerate being seen. This is the hardest part. When someone finally does see you, the messy, scared, needy parts, your nervous system will scream, danger. Put the mask back on. You have to practice staying present in those moments. Over time, being seen stops feeling like death and starts feeling like oxygen. There's a beautiful concept in psychology called the loneliness loop versus the belonging cycle. The loneliness loop looks like this. Feel lonely, withdraw or overperform, feel more lonely, repeat. The belonging cycle is, feel lonely, take a small risk to connect authentically, experience a moment of being seen, feel slightly less lonely, take another risk, deepen connection, feel belonging. It only takes 1 or 2 people to break the loop. You don't need a village. You need a tribe of 2 or 3 who know your shadows and love you anyway. If you're watching this and thinking, this is me, I'm the secretly lonely person, please hear this. You are not too much. You are not broken. You are not alone in your aloneness. The parts of you that you've hidden, the sensitivity, the longing, the fear, the hope, those are the exact parts that will magnetize the right people to you. But they can only find you if you stop hiding. There's a quote by Brené Brown that fits perfectly here, we don't have to do all of it alone. We were never meant to. You were never meant to carry your loneliness in secret. You were meant to belong, fully, messily, authentically. And that belonging starts the moment you decide your real self is worth the risk of being seen. So take the risk. Send the vulnerable text. Book the therapy appointment. Tell one person the truth. The life waiting on the other side of your secrecy is deeper, richer, and more connected than any performance could ever be. You deserve to be known. And you are far more knowable and lovable than you've allowed yourself to believe. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this resonated, save it, share it with someone who might need it, and most importantly, start somewhere today. Even the smallest step out of secrecy is a step toward belonging. You've got this. And you don't have to do it alone anymore.